All right, we are being live streamed. Today is Thursday, July 14th, and this is our fortnightly design and user experience meeting. And before we jump into items on the agenda, we should go around and do a quick round of introductions. I'll go first, and then I will call on the next person. If that person could call on another person at random, that would be great. It's called Popcorn, and we'll do introductions that way. My name is Jen Lambton. I'm joining from Oakland, California. I don't have anything designer user experience related I'm working on right now, but I'm very excited about Backdrop Live tomorrow. So, Luke, why don't you go next?
Hi, I'm Luke McCormick. I'm joining from San Ramon, California. And I just try not to cause any damage in design meetings. Let's go with Joseph.
Hi, I'm Joseph. I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada. And I've not really been doing anything design related recently. So, yeah. Gogo.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Gogo and I'm just Gogo on the internet. I'm a designer. So, Vasri, I think is the one next, right?
He might just be listening today. I don't know if he's going to do introductions.
I think he said he had to step away from his computer to do something.
Okay. Robert,
Yeah.
do you want to go next?
Cassandra. I'm Robert Lang, bug folder on the internet in Altadena, California. And I've been kind of distracted by other things for a little while, but starting to get back to things. And I have a pet issue that involving one of my favorite topics, layouts, and we'll talk about it a bit today.
Great. Well, since that's the first item on our agenda, do you want to just roll right into it and maybe give everyone a little update on the problem?
Sure. So this is issue 1602, and it's 5 years old. It started by Jen. And originally it was the idea of using that people would be confused about using asterisks or percent signs as wildcards in a layout, because the path of a layout, the wildcard-like thing is a percent sign, a placeholder, because it fills an entire chunk of the path. And that people would like to have a way of applying the layout to more paths than just what's defined by the path field of layout. And so the issue's been going along for a while, and there's been some discussion. And I guess I would encourage people to read through the issue because there's a lot of discussion. But some of the higher points are points of the questions of whether we should use a percent or an asterisk or both to achieve this functionality. There's already a couple of PRs from Doc Wilmot. First one that lets you put an asterisk wildcard at the end of an existing path to expand its usage. And a second PR that brings path ancestors into the picture that lets you match a wider range of paths using asterisks in addition to the percent sign. And the reason I brought this up and the thing I'm pushing is a different approach, which is to add a new field to layouts that behaves like the URL paths field in visibility conditions, block visibility conditions, and layout visibility conditions. In that, it'll match to normal paths, it'll match to aliases, and uses exclusively asterisks to denote the wildcard functionality. And the percent sign is only used in the original layout path, which, yes, defines a set of paths that the layout matches, but also defines the contexts that some of the contexts. If there's a placeholder, there are contexts associated with the placeholder. And so I've got a PR that implements this and tweaks some of the help text. I realize this is a big thing. There's a lot of different ways of doing expanding layout, and we've got 3 very different ways, and maybe the best way is none of the 3 PRs that are submitted. But I guess I'm a little motivated to put some and have some hours to put some time into this. So I'm soliciting people to look through the whole issue, to look at all the PRs, and to chime in on these open issues. And I don't know if we can, get to the point of having a core worthy solution by the time of the next minor release, but it would be nice to get this issue reviewed.
Yeah, that's great. This has bothered me for a long time. And it's something that I think also clutters existing backdrop sites, like when you have to build the same layout 4 times because you can't have 4 different paths because you can't target them with an asterisk and you can't group them more than one placeholder. And all of these solutions, I think, will make the site architect experience a lot better in that respect too. So yeah, thank you for working on this, Robert. Thank you for bringing it back up. It sounds like now what you're asking for is for us to go and test those 3 and see which one we think is our favorite and maybe pros and cons of each. And then that way we can help figure out which way to move forward, or if there's some kind of combination of what we have there that might make it the best possible solution. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for summarizing. All 3 of those pull requests, just so you know, are linked from issue 1602, so they're not on separate issues, which is at least makes them easy to find. I do think there are some related issues that might also be worth looking at the same time. Like I think there's another one that just adds duplicate path fields. I'll go see if I can find it, but yeah, there were like a bunch of other problems that weren't necessarily related to the placeholder, just with like layout stuff in general. And I think this might solve all of them. So if we could figure out the right solution for this one, we can probably close some of those other issues. So okay, well, that was our only issue from the forum today. It was also the only issue slated for the agenda for today. But there are a lot of design related and user experience focused issues in Backdrop. If we want to talk about any of them, I would like to open up the meeting for anyone to bring anything up. If we don't have anything to talk about, we could talk about other stuff. Backdrop Live is tomorrow, and there's a lot going on with that. If anyone wants to share, I don't know, potential ideas for the schedule, that might be a good use of our time too. Things we might want to talk about. I don't know if we want to have a specific discussion, for example, on design or user experience, or I don't know, the layout system, something like that. Might be, we could brainstorm on something like that too if we wanted. Anyone have any thoughts? Any thoughts? Okay, well, one thing I do want to say, Gogu, is thank you for making the graphic that I've seen shared on social media a bunch promoting Backdrop Live. I really like that. I thought it looked really good. So thank you for putting the time into getting that ready for us. Okay. Well, we are going to have another meeting in just over half an hour to talk about other development issues that we're working on. And if there's nothing urgent related to design or user experience that we want to have on the recording, what I might recommend is that we stop the live stream. And then if we want to hang out and chat less formally here until the next meeting, we can continue to do that. It's okay with everyone?
Seconded.
Okay.
Okay, but just before we do that,
Sure.
I wanted to ask, I asked a question on Zulip, and I don't think it has been answered though for the template that was created for the speakers.
Okay.
Yeah, have you seen the template for the speakers
No, I
for
haven't.
the different topics? So you might want to check on the I think event planning. Yes.
Okay, in the event planning channel. Graphics, ads, Facebook. Let's see. I don't see the question. Could you point me at it?
It's in the
Okay, let me do
it's
that.
in the registration topic, not in the,
Okay, thank you.
Okay, registration. Thank you.
yeah, so it's,
So we're asking if it's done. Okay, so this is a template for announcing individual discussions. And then promoting registration, it looks like. Is that right? Sorry, I
Yeah.
missed this before now.
Since Drop is giving out free passes.
Yeah, I think it looks good. I like the red dragon. Yeah, and I think you said in here that you already handed over the template. Did I see that somewhere in here? Is that the previous one?
I can't get his name at the moment, but I think he also
Was it Yorkshire
uses
Pudding?
the same. Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. He uses the same design software I use, so I had to drop the source file so he
Okay.
could.
Yeah, I
edit
think
it
that
also.
looks great. Dr. Wilmot asked if we could put people's pictures in there instead of the dragon, but if we have the source file, then that should be easy enough to switch out if we want to do that. I
Yes.
don't have strong feelings about one or the other, but yeah, looks like there's also an example here with Tim's face on it too. So
yeah, I think Tim was saying that for the discussions, it might be better to not have a specific person's face, but for the presentations, then it might be better to have the presenter's face.
yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay, so another thing, I was going through. I think I searched directly in Google. Teams backdrop teams, and at the moment, how many teams do we have?
How many Tims or how many teams?
Yes, teams. Like we have when
Design
you install, design team. Like after installation, like the teams you can actually install on the fly.
The things you can install on? I don't understand.
Okay, like
themes.
Yes,
Oh,
teams.
how many do we
that's
have?
what I mean.
That's a good question. Let's see if I can go figure it out real quick.
I think in
One that
core we
I'm
just
always
have
interested
two.
in.
I think in core it's just two, but in GitHub I think it's somewhere around 40 or 50.
Yeah. 37 that have stable releases.
Okay, so here's my question. Let's say I design a team. What will it take to implement that team? Like to do the front end?
It's an excellent question. This is like something I feel like.
Yeah, because there was this I don't know if it was the announcement channel or I don't know. I think I started that message.
So we have.
I think it was from team. it was on Teams about a new site. I think the lady is a radio presenter in this South or something.
So I
think I
dropped
saw-
a link into the Zoom chat. I can also share it in the Zulip chat if that's valuable, but we have a documentation page on developing themes for Backdrop. If
Okay.
you're starting from a design file, it really depends on the complexity of your design file, on how long or hard it will be to turn that into a theme. Super, super complicated
Okay.
ones are obviously going to take a lot longer. Also depending on what things are included in the design file, because you can have you can have a website with a blog section, you can have a website without a blog section. If your theme doesn't include a design for a blog section, that it could be different than one that does. Yeah, we have something called a style guide, which will put all of the most common elements from a Backdrop site sort of onto one page, which is really helpful for figuring out what needs to be styled or what needs to be designed. If you want to start from that, include stuff like comments of the user picture, what your breadcrumbs look like and stuff like that. A lot of themes could decide they don't want breadcrumbs, right? So they wouldn't have a design for it, and it would get removed from the theme instead of styled. So it's really hard to tell you exactly what's necessary. Technically, it would be great to have a solid understanding of HTML and CSS, and then you're going to need to learn a little bit about the Backdrop template system in order to figure out where to put stuff. And that hopefully most of that is documented on the documentation site. You should at least be able to get a pretty good point in the right direction to get started. And then there is going to be some stuff that's a little trickier and maybe not explicitly defined in those documentation pages. And for that, I would recommend reaching out in Zulip. And there are probably going to be some people who can help with the finer details.
Okay. So if I start out on designing a new theme and I reach out on Zulip, are you going to be on the team that will implement it?
I
okay,
can commit
okay.
to helping.
Okay.
I don't want to be responsible for
problem.
doing all of the
No
implementation,
problem at
but I
all.
definitely can point at anyone, if anyone has questions about like, oh, I'm trying to do this thing and it doesn't work, I can put in some time to help figure out why it's not working and point you in the right direction. But I have a lot of things on my plate right now, and I really want to work on field group and core. And so that's where my priorities are between now and September 1st.
Okay.
But if it gets in before that, I'll have more time. So you can see.
Okay, so I just dropped the link to the website I was talking about in the chat section.
Okay.
You can check it out also. I think it's Catherine Lerner.
Is that
John
an
Reed
existing site that's
and presenter.
that you want to recreate that look in Backdrop?
This is already
Not
backed
really.
up.
I think.
Oh, that's my question.
Okay. So I think the reason why I talked about creating a new theme was because I saw that website.
So this, I'm just going to do a little poking around. Is using the core theme basis that's been modified. So, I mean, I don't know what you were thinking specifically. Were you looking at this site thinking it needed to look nicer? Because we could like copy what they've done with this theme and then sort of spruce it up a little bit and then re-release it and then contact this person and say, hey, like we improved what you built a little bit. But that particular website would have to choose to adopt the theme that we set up in order to get those changes.
Okay.
In terms of what's going into Backdrop Core, so this started with Basis, right? So she chose, or whoever built the site chose this as a starting point for, Basis is what's in Backdrop Core as a starting point for their theme. We could do a bunch of work on Basis to make it a better starting point that might make it look a little nicer with the same amount of work that was done. We could also think about creating a new theme that would replace Basis. And that's something that we've talked about theoretically for a while, about having a new theme in Backdrop Core, but I don't know that there's any like tangible plans to do it. That doesn't mean that if we didn't have someone that was like, I definitely want to do this and this is my plan, that it wouldn't get done. So the way that the current theme Basis got into Core, so we had one person in our community said like, I'm going to do this. And they sat down and they made a bunch of designs and a whole bunch of people said, we love it. And then they wrote the code and then it went into Core. And I think, and that happened in the Backdrop 1.x lifecycle. Like we used to not have a core theme and now we do have a core theme called Basis. And so I think it's entirely possible that we could repeat that same process again. And even before Backdrop 2 comes out, we could include a new theme in Core. I think my preference would be to figure out how to improve the theme we have, but we have some major issues technically with backwards compatibility by doing that. And so there's some stuff that's like maybe not theme related we've got to sort out for that. It's definitely a lot easier just to take a brand new one and add it. So I think if you really wanted to do that, we could pursue that as a potential option for a future release of Backdrop and see what people think about it. Yeah, I don't know. I imagine there's probably a lot of people who will be really excited if we get something a little more modern in Backdrop Core. It's been a while since Basis got a lot of serious attention, but I don't know.
That would be great.
Another way that things can get into Core is if we wanted to just create the theme first as a contributed theme and release it and have people start using it. If a whole bunch of people are using it and they're like, I love this, this is so much better than Basis, or I want this in addition to Basis or whatever, we can just take the theme that's already out there and drop it in Core. And we do that a lot with modules. Like in the next hour, we're going to be talking about Entity Reference, which is a module that's existed for a really long time in Backdrop and before that in Drupal, that just everybody has used. It's like become the standard way of doing references. And so that's the module that we just dropped into Backdrop Core. So we could do that same process with a theme as well. If we had a theme that everybody was like, oh yeah, this is fantastic. We'd just be like, okay, how many people want this theme in Core? It shows up on our list of issues. Everyone votes for it and then it gets slated for a future release. So there's sort of two possible paths for inclusion in Core. The benefit to having something out in Contrib first is that you can iterate on it really quickly because you can build something, release it, update it, and you can see it in action that whole time. Whereas when you're just trying to build something straight for Core, you sort of have to get it perfect right out of the box. And so there's a lot of pushback on it from the community going, it's not quite right, it's not quite right. And it's really hard because it's not done until all of that is resolved. Where if you can release it in Contrib, you can make it done and then you can make it better over time. So it's usually easier to put something out in the Contrib world first.
I think that's better take. All right, thank you.
Sure. Hope that's helpful.
Very helpful.
Right. Is there anything else we want to talk about? Did spark light any fires for anyone?
We should probably
Too many fires.
So I, in my head, I'm just thinking, what would be the name of the team right now? Because it's something I would really love to do.
Naming things is very hard.
very hard. Very
Much harder
hard.
than building the things.
Exactly. Okay. So let's just start and then along the way, pick up the name. Just my thought.
Actually, all right. Well, the things that Google was saying struck me as this kind of elephant in the room that seems to always come up with me around theming, because whenever in the over years and years and years of doing this, whenever I like dipped into the world of theming, I find it comparatively easy to get answers to sort of technical things of how can I do A or B or C, and very difficult to get any kind of advice on what should I do. Like things, fashion changes so fast that usually by the time I learn about a fashion, it's already out of date. Like if I, I'm still trying to learn how to implement parallax things, and that would just make my site look dated if I did, right? so I don't. It's not really necessarily the core mission of like Backdrop, but it intersects with us a lot, right? Like people come to us also don't know these things, and it doesn't seem like a problem we should solve, but it seems like maybe a problem that we should know where to direct people to. Like here's how to find fashion. Here's how to find what colors you should use this year.
I mean, like
Whether
more generic design advice rather than specifically how to make it work with Backdrop.
yeah, although the scope creep problems like come roaring out like the moment you even say that, right? So, but just I mean I know Savashi was wrestling with this question for a while. Like how do you do these things?
I mean, these are questions I don't have answers to. I don't see design, so that's why I usually hire a designer, work with designers. I'm like, I don't know. But it would be great if we could get a collection of resources that could be used for people. We're like, hey, are you interested in seeing like what modern websites are doing today? Here's a website, and I don't know if this even exists, but like a website that shows you like top trends for X year, and then we wouldn't have to update the link. It would just be like, here's this year's top website trends, and then it would have like a carousel of 100 things you could look at. I don't know. I'm sure stuff like that exists, but I don't know what it is. But yeah, I think if we could have some general like, we don't do design, but look over here. Information for people could be useful, because a lot of people come to us with like, I need a website, and a design is part of a website, and we don't tend to include that because we're like, not my job, I just do backend, right? Yeah.
Okay. Right.
I think it's a good idea. We could definitely put a link somewhere, but I don't know what that link would go to or how we would even start something like that.
Yeah. The ideal thing would be if we could find someone to sort of delegate the whole idea. If we could find, some some collection of website design resources that it could just be a generic like, this isn't our job, but if you want ideas, head over here, and maybe that'd be less painful. Anyway, it might be something I might throw out at Backdrop Live, like it's hard if you're trying to come up with an official answer. It's like people in this room, like, okay, the 10 people that happen to be here, what do you got? And that might get you to more than nothing. So I don't know. Maybe I'll try to. Is there? We're still recording the design meeting right now, right? We can probably end this. I want to talk about Backdrop Live.
Okay.
So on a slightly related note, we should probably review the style guide module and update it, because I don't think it's been updated in like years.
Yeah, I know there's a bunch of open issues for it to include things like layouts, because it was built long before we had layouts. And I think we also had this idea of having promoted themes. So we had like what we call like feature complete themes. So we had a list of all of the features we wanted to be in the themes in order for them to be feature complete, and we wanted all of those things to exist in the style guide. So if you wanted to make your theme feature complete, all you would need to do is install the style guide and do all the stuff in the style guide. And the style guide is missing all of this stuff, not all of the stuff, some of the stuff we wanted in that list. And so I know there are a bunch of issues there for getting new stuff included.
It's missing a lot of our fancy HTML5 form elements that we've included recently.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'm not even sure how much of the original form elements were included in it to start with, too. It's sort of been front end, not so much web form style stuff in there, but that's a good point. All right.
What
go ahead, Luke.
I'm gonna throw like one more just like hand grenade in there. Like what I mean, we have our designers that we know that have come and gone. Maybe we should periodically like just pull them together. Be like, everybody that's been a design guru, just come for a once every 2 year meeting to just let us know what what has
What are
has
you
gone out of
working on?
fashion. Yeah, exactly. What are you wearing this week?
Yeah, I mean, I think that might also be fun. Like, for example, we do this Backdrop Live 3 times a year. What if we set up like sort of a standing like design, I don't know, maybe not show and tell, but some kind of like way that designers could get together and talk about the cool stuff that they're seeing going on. Maybe not even every Backdrop Live, but something like once a year, once every 2 years, where we could specifically reach out to all of the people who we know have been contributing to Backdrop in the area of design and say, hey, we've got you on this standing list of people we're going to send an invite to for this particular meeting. This is the day and time it's happening this year. Do you think you can join us? And then, they could opt in yes, no, or stop emailing me to participate in that conversation. I think that could be interesting. We don't often have a lot of design focused conversations with Backdrop Live, and I think it would be a welcome addition.
Figure out some way to get Wes to show up again.
I think if we just poke him, he might show up.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking also, if we go ahead with this, we might just end up getting a lot of designers joining as contributors and as volunteers too.
That could be
That would be great.
fantastic.
Yeah. If you can name anything that's like keeping them away, we'll remove those barriers. But
I think we're checking every day, so hopefully we'll come up with some of those things.
okay. Sounds good.
Right.
So very quickly, I did an update to the last template, so I'm just going to share it for the discussions and the different sessions.
Okay. Thank you for that. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the live stream, but we can stay on and chit chat